She steps out of the car and she's covered in blood. This is a story about good intentions. So it is 1999, and I had just gotten engaged to who would be my first wife. She lived in another town. I was working for a design company at the time and working kind of late. And I had ridden my motorcycle to work as I usually did and stopped for gas at the way home to the gas station a little ways up the road from where I lived. So I'm pumping gas, and this red Porsche 944 pulls in. It's like a Jake in 16 candles, the red with the black wheels on it. And, not a rare car to see, but it's a Porsche. It's always exciting. So I'm like, oh, the car pulls up and a, pretty attractive lady gets out. And I'm probably 20, I think I was 24 at the time. She was probably maybe 10 years older than me, but, very attractive. And she gets out and I'm finishing up pumping gas in my bike. And she puts some gas in the Porsche and she steps over and she said, "Excuse me. Do you know much about cars?" And just being a car guy, that's like the dream question. Of course I do. So she said, "Well, will you look at my tires and tell me if you think they're getting bald?" Okay. So I look and they were worn. They certainly weren't gone. One of them, there's obviously an alignment issue on one of them. But I said, "Well, you need to get your alignment checked. That one's a little off, but I think they'll last." And she said, "Well, I've been telling my husband that I needed new tires. I want to go see my mom in a month or so, and I don't want to make the trip on these old tires, but he just said they're still good, and I just don't think they're good. And do you know how to like scratch off the tires, like spin the tires on a car?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." She said, "Well, would you, I'm going to be weird, but do you think, could you finish these tires off so he'll have to get me new ones before I go see my mom?" I'm looking around for the cameras at this point. I'm thinking did my girlfriend put you up to this? Is there is this like one of those reality shows? This just doesn't happen. But sure enough, there's this pretty girl with a Porsche asking me if I'll trash the tires. And I was like, okay. So I push my bike off to the side and get in the Porsche. And I'm just thinking wow, this is, I can't believe this is happening here. This seems very suspicious, but I'm going to go with it because this just doesn't happen every day. It's a manual transmission and it's a 944. It's not the fastest Porsche ever, but it's a great little car. I'd never driven one before, but I've been, I'd raced some cars before. I grew up racing and drag racing. I'd done some performance driving here and there, and I'm, sure I can do this. So we peel out, and there was an industrial area not too far away. It was the Zoom Bait Company, actually, in Athens, Georgia. And so we go out there, and I'm like, "You're sure, right? This is what you want?" She's like, "Yep, roast them." I'm like, okay. So just, redline the engine, dump the clutch, just peel out. We're just doing donuts and just hooning this thing around. This is, Ken Block was probably 10 years old at this point, but this is like a Gymkhana video. I mean, we are just killing the tires in this thing. I'm having the best time, just circling the building and just, spinning out, dumping the clutch, going backwards, just tires rolling off everywhere. And she's having a great time as we were trashing the tires. She's giggling, she's squealing, she's got the window down, just hanging her head out. She's having the greatest time. We are doing donuts and reverse 180s and every Gymkhana move that there is in this little car. And she's having the grandest time, just kicking her feet like a joyful child. And it was really exciting to share that with somebody, really, because usually when you're trashing a car, it's either your car or it's somebody's car that's not going to be happy about it. But it was the most amazing experience to destroy a set of tires on a Porsche with the owner so gleefully riding along shotgun. We stop and I get out at one point to check my progress. There's just smoke rolling off. They're blistered. There's chunks of rubber coming out. These things are toast. Now I'm actually worried, are we going to make it back to the gas station? I was like, okay, well, if your husband doesn't think you need new tires now, he never will. So we go back to the gas station. I said, "Thanks. That was a lot of fun." She said, "Thanks a lot. You've been a big help." And she drove away. And I think, wow, that was really weird. Okay. I go back home and I told my friend about it the next day. Oh, the craziest thing happened, So a couple of weeks go by and I've kind of not forgotten about this, but it's probably 1 o'clock in the morning. And again, this is 1999. I don't have a cell phone. Let's look at the old landline phone. My phone rings at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, obviously it must be an emergency or something. So I'm kind of sleepy. So I pick up the phone and it's some woman just crying that really high pitched, just, even though I can't understand a word she's saying, I can tell by the tone it's not my girlfriend, it's not my mom, it's not my sister, it's not somebody I work with. Like, I'm like, who is this? She goes, Tia with the Porsche. I'm like, what? It's Tia with the Porsche. And I'm like, Tia with the Porsche? What's wrong? I've just got in a fight with a guy and I really need some help. And I'm like, okay, well, do you need to go to the doctor? She goes, I'm in front of your house. I'm like, my house? How do you know where my house is? About that time, like, I see headlights in the front window and she just drives like into my yard, like over the driveway into my yard. And I'm like, oh my God, little pop-up lights are up. Again, I've just come out of a dead sleep. So I open the door and she's not really like in the bushes, but she's just sort of partway in the flower bed. And like she's getting out of the car, but her foot's like on the gas. So the engine's revving wide open. And, like, my neighbors are going to wake up. I'm just like, oh my God, like what is happening? She steps out of the car and she's covered in blood. There's like a closet by the door and I grab a towel and I just sort of, kind of give it to her and she starts wiping her face off. And I'm like, oh my God, we need to call an ambulance. No, call an ambulance. My husband's a doctor, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, here we go. Sit down. So, she sits on my couch. I give her the towel and I kind of clean her up a little bit. And she's actually really not even that hurt. She's really drunk, just beyond drunk. And as I clean her up a little bit, like really the only injury she had was just this tiny cut on her forehead where, according to her, some guy had broken a bottle over her head. But when your blood alcohol level is half, you tend to bleed out a bit. So I get her cleaned up. I can't stop the bleeding. I've got like a paper towel. I'm like, here, hold this. And anyway, I'm like, all right, that's it. You're going to the hospital. We're going, no, you can't go to the hospital. She's so drunk. So I just kind of pick her up. Like, I have a car. I've got a 5 Series BMW at the time. I'm thinking, like, I don't want her bleeding in my car. And I don't want her in my car. And what am I going to do with this Porsche in my front yard? So I'm like, okay. So I put her in the passenger seat. I get in the Porsche, back it out of my yard. And I drive her to the hospital. And on the way there, she's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, how did you get my phone number? And she's like, oh, I'm just really this guy. He's just drive. We were going out, blah, blah. And I'm like, Tia with the Porsche, how did you get my phone number? And again, she's drunk and she's still kind of crying. She's like, my friend's a police officer and you were really nice. And when you drove off on your motorcycle, I got your tag number and he gave me your phone number. I'm like, well, that's really great. You found me. What's your friend's name? She wouldn't tell me. She was smart. Tell you what, I'm going to take you to the hospital. I'm going to drop you off. I'm going to take your Porsche back to the gas station where we met. I'm going to leave the keys with the clerk. He's a guy named Shane. He's a friend of mine. When you're done, I want you to get a ride, get a cab to the gas station, get your Porsche, and please don't call me again. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I take her to the hospital, and kind of out of her drunken stupor, she looks up and she's like, no, you can't go to this hospital. This is one my husband works at. I'm like, oh my God. There's only one other hospital in town. So leave that hospital, take her to the other hospital, drop her off. As I'm pulling out of the hospital, I pass a guy in another car and he puts his arm out the window and I stop and he looks in the car and he goes, where's my wife? And I was like, she's inside. She's okay. He's like, why do you have her car? I was like, I'm taking it back to the place where she was at. He's like, is she hurt? And I was like, she's inside. She really needs you. So he goes into the hospital. I scoot back to the gas station, drop the car off, lock the doors, give the keys to my friend Shane and said, Shane, somebody is going to come looking for this Porsche. Please give them the keys. Do not tell them my name. So I walk. Again, it's 3:30 in the morning at this point. I walk back to my house, get an hour of sleep, get up, go to work, thinking, this poor girl is a train wreck. About 3 days later, my phone rings again, and it's Tia with the Porsche, sober this time. And I said, Tia, I'm glad you're okay. However, I kind of wish you hadn't called me back. She goes, well, I didn't mean to. I'm really sorry. You were really sweet to take me to the hospital. Did I leave my pager at your house? I was like, no. She goes, it's white. It's got little sparkles on it. I'm like, again, this is 1999. People had pagers. I said, no, I don't have your pager. Please don't call me again. About a month later, a guy I work with comes into work one day all excited. He's like, dude, remember the girl with the Porsche you told me about? I was like, yeah. He's like, dude, she crashed it in my front yard last night. And I was like, what? He goes, yeah, it was her and some guy. And like, there's like this, my friend lived on the outside of this curve, and there was this telephone pole. About twice a year, somebody would plow into this telephone pole. Sure enough, Tia totals the Porsche into the telephone pole. And I said, oh my God, what happened to you? Okay? He said, dude, they were hurt pretty bad, man. I called 911, but I went out there and I gave him some blankets, put some blankets on them. The guy gave me this big bag of weed, and he said, can I hold it so the cops don't get it? And I was like, what'd you do? He's like, no, man, I just put it back in the car. And I was like, oh my God, that girl is a train wreck. About a month later, my girlfriend, we've gotten engaged. She's up visiting for the weekend. She lived out of town. She's in for the weekend. We're sitting on the couch watching a movie. I'm in the kitchen, put some dinner together. I come back in with 2 plates, you know, I've got a bottle of wine, I've got some plates, got dinner, I'm all excited. And, you know, we were having a great time, and I went into the kitchen, but I came back, and her face was like, you know, she's got the angry face on. And I'm like, what's up with the face? It's the pager, a white pager with little rhinestones on it. Now, I never did anything inappropriate in this story, but at the time, you think, there's no way my girlfriend's going to believe that an attractive woman stopped me at a gas pump and asked me to trash the tires on her Porsche. Nothing happened, so maybe it's better if I just don't ever share this story. Being a story about good intentions, even though my intentions were good, when your girlfriend finds a bedazzled white pager in your couch a month later, it's not so good.
If you love VINwiki, you'll have heard us talk about minimizing ownership cost on exotic cars. But the guys at Exotic Car Hacks have developed a system, an educational resource that you can access now using exoticcarhacks.com/VINwiki and get the best membership rates that they've offered since Black Friday. It shows you how to leverage financing, minimize what you pay, maximize how you sell it, and minimize the cost while you've got it. So be sure to join their community of owners and enthusiasts today at exoticcarhacks.com/VINwiki, and it'll be easier than ever to buy, own, and sell and love the car of your dreams.